When we developed our approach to teaching English, we recognized that English for our students is the second language. So it was very important for us to develop basic skills like speaking, reading, listening, writing. But apart from that, we need to understand that language development goes beyond simple communication. Very important point is that English, as any other language, is used for self-expression. So self-expression is at the heart of our approach. With self-expression comes creativity, because only through creativity students, anyone can express themselves. That's why self-expression means that we are developing their thinking skills. We are developing the way how they perceive the world, how they feel. Without language, it cannot be done and it cannot be developed. While developing language, we are developing the way how our students think, how they feel, and how they express themselves. The third point, which was very important to keep in mind while creating English curriculum, that we wanted to teach them the beauty of language. That's why students are exposed to classical literature, which gives us this understanding. So not only language development, but development of aesthetic feeling, it is also in our curriculum. Right now I will give you an example, just one example, how we make a story with our students, so that you can understand how these principles we used in our work. First of all, we started from the logic of the story. So story has several parts if we just start, but we didn't go in a sequence how it is done as you learn it as a reader. So we shifted our focus to a position of an author, because only in this case you can focus on development of creativity, development of thinking, and development of language. Story making is done in a group, 6 students in a group, so that they can have this space environment where they can discuss different points, they can go through different steps of making stories, they can listen to each other, understand, they can make choices and express their thoughts and make one story. By the end of these lessons, they will have, one group will have one story. And I will tell what is the logic. As we are starting from the same point for all groups, in the class there will be several groups and they will be having different stories. The logic is that they start from the same point, but how they develop, it will be done in a different way. Why we chose a team approach, group approach for creating stories? Because in this age, children, they need support while doing some grammar exercises, working with vocabulary, or creating, designing their story part, so that we gave them this opportunity to discuss. They can take help of their friends, they can take help of their teacher. The logic is that we continued from this same point towards the action part, because in this age students, they mostly, when we speak about the story, it is about action part, how the situation which was done initially has been developed. This is the first part of the making story. Then we shifted to characters and personalities, because we wanted to explain them that actions, they are done by someone. So how personality affects the action, how different people, they behave in different situations. So you see, while even creating this kind of sequence, we teach them how to think, how to understand people and motives behind their actions. It is not only about language development, it's not about development of creativity, it's about understanding the world of humans, of relationships. Then we went to the ending part, because, and we connected to the characters, how characters might finish this story according to personality traits which children they generated, they discussed, they designed. So that again, the logic of how different humans they can end up, what is the ending of the story. Then we shifted to settings. Though, because when we finish the ending part, because we need to understand where the action took place, whether it is in, I don't know, in the forest, on Mars, or anyway, we need to understand where these characters live, how the settings affect the whole story, the whole action part which is given in the story. And then we went to the beginning so that children, they can understand what kind of beginning it should be to make a reader interested in continuing reading. So I think this is the logic which doesn't go, that way usually how the readers go. It's the logic of imagination. So that how imagination goes in this age particularly, because our task was just to guide them through all these stages of thinking process so that they can go, up to the end with understanding, with discussing. And then they're making titles, they are making covers, and if we can just now have a look at our slide where we speak about basic structure of English curriculum, you can see that all parts right now I have been talking about, they consist of 5 basic elements. So first one is reading classics. So we read different classics pieces, and children work with vocabulary from classics. Then using this vocabulary, they work on grammar part, so that they practice grammar part using vocabulary. Then they go to theory of literature. It means that literary devices, these tools which make literature, which make beautiful language. And they practice these literary devices using vocabulary and grammar, which they learned. So at each and every step, we applied this principle of practicing, getting together all pieces, all steps, so that not a single lesson will be lost without practicing. Because if a child does not practice, so most probably he will forget about that the next day. That's why we connected all these steps. And then afterwards, we come to creating the stories, only afterwards. While practicing, they can have some ideas how to make it. So this is a process of guiding them gradually in a professional way to the story making. And then they go through all these parts, completing the whole story. So reading, vocabulary, grammar, theory, and creating their own story. Afterwards, when the story is created, they start working on titles, illustrations, covers, and it's also a very important skill because they go through the logic of creation of work. They go through the author's lab. They are becoming authors. So even what kind of illustrations, what kind of style, so that we can just give visual representation of our thoughts. It's also a very important part. It's connected with art lessons as well. Then they have book presentation. Usually authors, they have that, and they are learned how to do presentations. Then they read the other story. As I already told, it is done in one class. Several stories are created. So they read each other's stories, which started from the same point. So you see, it's very interesting to understand how the other kids, they develop the story, how they, which characters they, how they develop the characters, what is the ending, what kind of settings. So reading of other stories, it's also a very interesting part. Then afterwards we have interviews as an author. We're asking questions because while reading, we all have some questions about why the character, did something or whatever. Any questions related to the story. So how to make the interview, how to frame the questions, how to answer the questions, how to, in a public, it's very important skill. So they practice it also during the English lessons. Then they write reviews, though it sounds a little bit, I would say, very professionally, but reviews, it means that if you have gone through the whole process, so you now understand what kind of questions you can ask or how to analyze the book. For example, what kind of literary devices you used, what kind of grammar, what kind of characters you used, how they behave. So they learn analytical skills, which is very important. So during this process, they go through roles of a writer, reader, journalist, and a critic. So different perspective of the same process, which is very important. And I would like to give you some example which is important to understand, that coming back to what I have explained in the beginning, that while going through all this process, students, they learn how to think and how to feel. For example, students, they are learning how from simple sentence to make a very beautiful sentence, which, descriptive language, where you need to include all your senses. All your senses, how you hear, what kind of sounds you hear around, how you feel, what you see. You see all senses, how to describe it. Obviously, children never did that before. But while doing it, they start learning new ways of how to perceive the world, how to see the world, and how to express it using literary devices which we teach them. So everything, all steps of this, a very interesting process, a very individualized, because at each and every step students express themselves fully, they interact, they learn different kind of skills. So that's how we designed English curriculum.